A more than $1 trillion infrastructure bill just got signed into law, and this is about to get bonkers. We have Joe Biden, the President of the United States, signing a $1.2 trillion bipartisan infrastructure bill. The final step is the passage of the largest transportation funding package in U.S. history. Overall price tag, $1.2 trillion over the next 8 years. Here are the highlights. Here's where the cash is going. $110 billion to bridges and roads, $39 billion to public transit. Amtrak, didn't even know that was still around, $666 billion. EV stations and buses, $12.5 billion. Broadband, $65 billion. Power grid, $65 billion. Airports, $25 billion. Waterways, $55 billion. Lead pipes, $15 billion. And water decontamination, $10 billion. The $110 billion is going to repair bridges and 173,000 miles of roads. $39 billion is for the public transit, which is going to improve accessibility and zero-emission buses. Then we've got the Amtrak rail maintenance and repairs, $66 billion. $5 billion going for electric and hybrid school buses. $65 billion for better broadband access in rural, low-income, and tribal communities. More people getting high-speed internet. Let's do it. $25 billion to spiff up airports and aging air traffic control towers. And then $15 billion to replace our nation's lead pipes. Now, the big question is, if we're going to spend $1.2 trillion, who the hell's paying for it? Well, $210 billion is literally just leftover money from COVID-19 relief funds. So they'd already allocated it. They didn't find a home for it, so now they're going to contribute it here. $53 billion is coming from unspent unemployment insurance. It was allocated to the unemployment boost, and insurance didn't get spent, now coming over here. Crypto tax, we'll get to that in a second. And then the national deficit will grow by $256 billion over the next decade to make up the difference. Everyone that was running around on both sides of the aisle said no one's going to have to pay anything. It's cost $0. Well, the deficit went up $256 billion. So I don't know how we got to it doesn't cost anything. That was a lie. And then the second thing is this crypto tax. But when you write crypto tax, I was like, oh my God, they're going to increase the taxes, right? Of course, that's how you're going to get more money to pay for it. Wrong. When you go through this, here is an overview of what's actually in this. The crypto industry concerned about a tax reporting requirement that's in this bill. That's what everyone was freaking out about a couple of weeks ago. And it's because they are trying to expand the definition of a broker for IRS purposes. The bill would require all brokers to report transactions under the current tax code. Industry proponents worry the definition is too broad and won't allow people such as minors and other parties to actually comply because they don't consider themselves facilitating transactions. They don't have the information necessary. But under these rules, you could look at it and say, why are the minors not actually reporting this to the IRS? So if we continue here, then we see that there are a number of different people, including Cynthia Lummis, senator out of Wyoming, and others that are attempting to narrow the scope of the law's crypto broker clause with a separate bill that was introduced yesterday. Another part of the bill opposed by the crypto industry requires recipients of transactions over $10,000 to verify the sender's personal information and record of their social security number, the nature of the transaction, and other information, and then report the transaction to the government within 15 days. Some lawyers have pointed out that when applied to cryptocurrencies and other digital assets like non-fungible tokens, it would be nearly impossible to comply with these laws. Everyone's yelling and screaming, $1.2 trillion, we're going to go do all this great infrastructure stuff. Oh, first of all, it's not going to contribute to inflation. Wrong. Second, it's going to cost $0. Wrong. Third, crypto taxes are going to pay for it. Wrong. Why? There's no new tax. There is no new tax here. All that is in this bill is more reporting requirements. So they're saying, here are the rules. This is what is owed for taxes. We now need you to report more information so that we can make sure people are paying their taxes. There's no allegation that people are not paying their taxes. There's no allegation that the government is missing out on tax revenue. It's simply trying to put more onerous reporting rules. Now, I agree that these rules are incredibly onerous, and in many cases, if applied in the most broadest sense, would not be possible. A minor has no clue what is going on in terms of some of the details that would be needed according to these rules. On top of that, there's other people who would fall under this broker rule that cannot actually get the information. They don't know who the social security number is. In some cases, they don't even know who's sending them the money. And so you've got to start to look at what are we trying to accomplish and how effective or realistic is it? On top of that, if we just increase reporting, that does not necessarily mean that there is going to be more revenue that is driven from this specifically. And so we've got a quote here. Joe Biden, President of the United States, said, quote, once again have the best roads, bridges, ports, and airports will lead the world into the 21st century with modern cars and trucks and transit systems. We're already 20% of the way into the 21st century, right? Like I don't know if we're leading anywhere. Like we're already in the 21st century. It's not like we're in 1999 and we're we're like, hey, let's go, sign me up. We're running into we're in the 21st century. Like, what are you talking about? Second of all, is that, well, once again, so are we saying that we had the best roads, bridges, ports, and airports, but now we don't? Who has better ones? And if they have better ones, why aren't they spending trillions and trillions of dollars to keep theirs the best? So ultimately, what we get is a $1.2 trillion bill, signed, done, sealed, delivered. They're coming for it, and they're going to spend this money. The big question is how much of their plan to pay for it is actually going to work out versus it sounds good theoretically, but it's actually not going to come from tax revenue that they believe. On top of that, there's another $1.85 trillion social spending package that this week the House is going to vote on. So just keep it rolling.